The courthouse was colder than I remembered. Not just physically, but in the way it pressed silence into your skin. Every step I took down that hallway echoed louder than it should have. I was too aware of my own heartbeat, of the way my hands kept tightening around my bag. My brother was already there when I walked in. Alex sat at the defense table like he belonged there. Hair perfect. Suit custom fitted. He nodded at me with that same practiced calm he always wore in uncomfortable places. Funerals, investor calls, family dinners after a scandal. It used to soothe me. But today, it unsettled me. Because today, someone else was here too. Noah Kane. He sat alone, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes locked on the floor like it was safer than facing the room. I hadn't seen him in nearly a decade. Not since the summer I interned for Alex, and Noah was just another invisible assistant in the background. Silent, efficient, forgettable. Except he hadn't been forgettable. Not to me. No one else remembers this, but one night at a corporate event, I fainted. Overworked. Undereating. Embarrassing. I came to in the courtroom, and it was Noah who had found me, who had taken off his jacket, crouched beside me, and said, "You don't have to prove anything to them." That was the only time we ever spoke outside the office. Then he disappeared. Now here he was, taking the witness stand, against my brother. The prosecution opened their folder and began reading. Noah spoke slowly. His voice was low but clear. He listed internal documents. Payment transfers. Bonuses that didn't make sense. Vendors that didn't exist. He described how he submitted a report back then, quietly, through HR, and how nothing happened. Because no one wanted to hear it, he said. Not when it involved someone like Alex Morrow. I couldn't breathe. Not because I believed him, not yet. But because something about the way he said it felt like memory. I looked at Alex. He didn't flinch. He smirked. That night at dinner, my parents were already in crisis management mode. Polished wine glasses. Calming music in the background. Like setting the stage could undo the reality. "He's just angry," my father said. "Jealous. Nobody takes whistleblowers seriously anymore." "We need to support your brother," my mother added. "Don't let some disgruntled intern plant doubt in your mind." I didn't respond. I kept my fork perfectly still on the napkin. The room was too quiet. The truth is, I hadn't thought of Noah in years. But now I couldn't stop seeing him. His hands gripping the edge of the witness stand. His voice shaking, just a little. And suddenly, a thought came that I didn't want to say out loud. What if he's telling the truth? I woke up before sunrise. Not because I was well rested, but because sleep had become a stranger to me. Noah's words kept looping in my mind. No one wanted to hear it. It didn't sound like anger. It sounded like disappointment. The kind that settles quietly in your chest and stays there for years. I made tea and sat at the kitchen table in my robe, staring at the wall. My apartment was filled with silence, but my head was noisy. Every little thing I'd ignored over the years came rushing forward like static. Alex's rushed explanations. The intern turnover. The accountant who left without notice. The questions I never asked because I didn't want to know the answers. My phone buzzed. "Sophie, you okay?" I stared at the message for a while before replying. "I'm not sure what to believe anymore." She responded a moment later. "Come in early. There's something I think you should see." Sophie was already at the office when I arrived. She didn't say hello, she just handed me a slim file. Old, slightly yellowed at the edges. "Found it in the archived boxes. It's from 9 years ago," she said. I took the file in my hands. My name wasn't on it. But I felt it in my chest like it was mine. Noah Kane. A formal HR complaint. I flipped through the pages slowly. He had documented everything: discrepancies in vendor payments, internal bonuses that didn't match reported data, executive transfers with no explanation. His notes weren't angry. They were careful, detailed, thoughtful. At the bottom of the last page. Handled internally. No further action. A silence dropped between us. Sophie was watching me. Waiting. He came by 2 months ago, she finally said. Wanted to know if there was a record of what he filed. I thought there wasn't. But this was buried. I stared at the pages. My hands were cold. I wanted it to be fake. I wanted it to be a misunderstanding. But it matched what Noah said on the stand, almost word for word. Why didn't anyone follow up? I asked. Sophie raised her eyebrows. Because it was your brother's company, and people were afraid to touch anything with his name on it. I couldn't breathe. I didn't go home after work. I drove. No destination. Just movement. I ended up outside the courthouse, parked on the street with the engine still running. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the front steps. And then I saw him. Noah. Walking alone. No lawyers. No entourage. Just a folder clutched tightly under one arm. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not weak, just tired. Like someone who had spent too long fighting something bigger than him. He didn't see me. And I didn't call out. I don't know why. I just watched him disappear through the courthouse doors. That night, my mother called. Your brother's lawyer may want you to testify. Nothing serious. Just speak on character if they ask. Character. I held the phone in my hand long after the call ended, the word echoing in my ears. What was character? I used to think it meant loyalty. Now I wasn't so sure. Because what kind of character ignores a voice crying out for help? What kind of character stays silent when something feels wrong? I thought about Noah's hands on that witness stand. About the way he looked at the truth, not with fire, but with tiredness. And I realized. He had told the truth a long time ago. We just chose not to hear it. I didn't plan on speaking. I thought I'd be there just to watch. To listen. But they called my name. Bella Morrow. My throat closed. I stood. My legs felt heavier than they ever had. The room felt hotter. Every eye turned to me, some curious, some expectant, and some warning. I walked slowly to the witness stand. I saw Alex in the corner of my eye. He didn't look worried. He winked. Like this was all a game, and I was still playing on his team. I sat down. They asked me to state my name, my job, my relationship to the defendant. I answered like a machine. Bella Morrow. Social worker. Sister. Then came the real questions. Did I work for Alex's company at any point? Yes. Did I ever witness irregularities? No. Did I remember a young man named Noah Kane? Yes. That word, yes, came out too soft. The prosecutor nodded. Did you know Mr. Kane filed a report during your time there? I hesitated. That single pause shifted something in the room. No, I said finally. Not back then. But you're aware of the report now. I looked at Sophie in the back row. She didn't move. But her presence held me steady. Yes. I've read it. And in your professional opinion, as a mandated reporter and a licensed social worker, did the contents of that report raise any ethical concerns? Alex's lawyer stood up. Objection. She's not a forensic accountant. I'm not asking for a financial analysis, the prosecutor said. I'm asking if she, as someone trained to recognize patterns of abuse or exploitation, sees cause for concern. The judge allowed it. And suddenly I was alone. Not legally, but emotionally. I turned toward Alex. I don't even know why. Maybe I still hoped he'd look worried. Ashamed. Human. He didn't. He smiled. That smile, so familiar, so practiced, broke me. Yes, I said, louder than I expected. Yes, it raised concerns. The words left my mouth and everything changed. There was a silence. A long, uneasy silence. Alex didn't move. His smile just stiffened slightly. My mother, seated in the row behind him, dropped her gaze to her lap. I wasn't finished. I used to think loyalty meant silence. That protecting someone meant pretending you didn't see the cracks forming, I said. But silence is not loyalty. And it's not love. It's fear. And I won't be afraid anymore. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. But I wasn't shaking. For the first time in days, I wasn't shaking. I stepped down. Walked past Alex. Past my parents. Past the walls I'd built around myself for 33 years. Outside the courthouse, it was raining. Cold. Sharp. Almost cleansing. I didn't run. I let the rain hit my face. And I breathed. For the first time, I breathed like someone who had finally told the truth. They didn't call me after the trial. Not Alex. Not my mother. Not even my father. Days passed. Then weeks. The silence that followed my testimony wasn't sharp. It was hollow. Like walking through the house you grew up in and realizing it's just a building now. Not a home. Not anymore. But I didn't regret what I said. Not even once. I kept going to work. I kept taking care of my clients. I kept doing the things that grounded me. And somewhere in the middle of all that, I realized. I was breathing easier. There was no more pretending. No more flinching every time someone said Alex's name. No more trying to hold my family's image together like glass already broken. I was free. And for the first time, I was living my life without a script someone else handed me. One afternoon, as I was leaving the office, I saw him. Noah. He was sitting on the bench near the corner cafe, the same place he used to wait for the bus back when we were both just interns trying to matter. He looked different. Still quiet, still distant, but there was something stronger about him now. A stillness I hadn't seen before. I almost walked past. But I didn't. Mind if I sit? He looked up. A soft smile touched his face. You're not afraid to be seen with the enemy. You were never the enemy, I said. We just couldn't hear you back then. We sat in silence for a while. No rush. No pressure to fill the space. Just the sound of traffic and wind. Finally, he turned toward me. Why did you do it? Because it was the truth. Even if it cost you your family. I thought about that. If it cost me people who only loved me when I was silent, maybe they weren't family to begin with. He nodded. Not as approval, but as understanding. We didn't talk about Alex. Or the verdict. Or the headlines. We talked about little things, music, books, the way people carry grief. It was enough. Weeks later, I received a letter. Handwritten. From my mother. Only one sentence. You humiliated us. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a wound dressed in blame. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Not because I wanted to save it, but because I didn't need to carry it anymore. I was done holding other people's shame. Today, I live in a quiet apartment with too many books and a tea kettle that whistles like a train. I see my clients. I sleep through the night. I sometimes meet Noah for coffee. We don't define it. We don't need to. What I do know is this. I lost a version of my family. But I found something better. A voice. A spine. A self. Truth didn't destroy me. It became my beginning. And that stranger I once defended? He turned out to be the only person in that courtroom who never asked me to lie.